All right, looks like we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuned and Strong podcast. Got it right today. I am Dr. Jen Cabot of Tuned and Tone Performance.
And I am Angela McCuiston of Music Strong.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about habits and how they link to nutrition. We're going to link this to our next episode that we're going to release. So stay tuned for that one. But Angela, you had a book that's kind of prompted this. Do you want to go ahead and introduce it?
Yeah, sure. So actually, the book that we're going to be referencing in the next next episode is called No Sweat. And that book is all about exercise psychology. And do you feel like basically unpacking the reasons around why we exercise and why we really don't exercise? You know, people who start January 1st have got these resolutions, why we don't stick to them, why we get fed up of being sick and tired and it doesn't matter, why we sign up and pay all this money to work with a trainer and we still don't do the workouts, or we bail, or we don't, etc. And a lot of it comes down to how we view exercise. Do we see it as a punishment? Do we feel like there's only certain things that are valid when it comes to exercise? If I don't work out a certain way, it didn't count. If I just go for a walk, that's not a workout, that doesn't count, etc. So we started with that, and we went down this other rabbit hole of like what else we could talk about. So this today is going to segue into that because I'm waiting for the book to show up for me. I've read like half of it on my free library app, and then I had to return the book before I could finish the book. So I'm waiting for it to get here from Amazon so I can actually reference it properly instead of making up quotes. So from there, it's more, we went on a tangent and I started talking about, I actually have this 10-week quote challenge. A few years ago, like 10 years ago, I wrote this blog series back when I was just starting, and I had a bunch of clients who wanted to change their weight, they want to change their lives, and I started thinking about the psychology of it all, the same exact thing. And I wrote this 10-week blog series on how to get off the hamster wheel and become the person you really want to be, like change your habits and get the body you really want and keep it, which is a horribly long title, but we all get that, right? We all start, we fall off. We start, we fall off. It's a hamster wheel, crash dieting, starting gym, bouncing from teacher to teacher, you know, all kinds of stuff. Why do you not stick with things? So this is all related, and if we're going to put a link in the show notes to this this blog series. And I have a group called I Am Music Strong on my Facebook page. Feel free to join. We're walking through it right now. The reason why it's 10 weeks is because the goal here is to give yourself time, to give yourself permission to really take the time you need. 10 weeks is a minimum. You could take it a week to 2 to 4 for each step.
Yes.
Because this is your body and your life, and habits. By the way, I'm going to be referencing this in a minute. This is a book you should get. If you've not read this, it's amazing. And I read it on audiobook twice and then bought it. But it's called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And it was actually brought up to me at a personal training convention along with several others, like this No Sweat book. And my gosh, it just changes how you think about why we do what we do. There's a cue, there's a reward, there's an action, there's a reward. So going back to this, like my 10 weeks, the first week is drink more water. We have all heard that a bajillion times. How many days do we hit our water goal? I don't. Maybe you do. I really don't. I have not done well today.
I do, but it's partly just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And I make up for it with other problems, trust me.
Right. So does that make you a failure? No.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. But how many times do we think, oh, I ate one cookie, I'll eat the whole sleeve. I didn't drink my water, I guess I'll drink the entire bottle of wine. Or whatever, right? We have that mentality, right? So the reason why I did this whole series, the first one is drink more water. And it's like, set the water goal you should have, drink half the water, drink half your body weight in ounces a day. It's a good start. So if you weigh 200 pounds, drink 100 ounces of water. Nobody's doing that, at least not unless you're doing it on purpose. And you can adjust from there. But if you give yourself that goal and like, let me see what it feels like when I do that. How difficult is it? And then that's your only goal for the week. That is it.
Yeah.
If you don't make it, you're not a failure. You just learned. Like Thomas Edison found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. You just learned that's one way to not drink enough water. Mm-hmm. So like the second one is put the phone down when it's time to eat. Eat undistracted. Now you see why we had to build off week one, because if you're already drinking enough water, then you try to, if you were not doing that, then you're going to eat and drink more when you're distracted, right? So if you've already drinking enough water, you've got that to build on. Now it's not like, I have to do both of these. No, it's already started to become part of your routine. Okay, say you are watching YouTube or watching your kids or talking to people or if you're living alone, you're on your phone or you're on your computer and doing stuff, typing, eating at your desk, whatever. Okay, say you do that only once a day instead of 3 times a day. You're still not a failure. It has nothing to do with being a failure or not. So that's this whole series, and I want you to take as much time as you need to really understand how this works for you. Is it a problem? Not for everybody. Some of these steps are problems for other people. So that's the start of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for most quality nutrition approaches, advice, whatever you want to call it, that I've come across, the really good ones are not going to ask you to do everything at once.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is. And there's just too much that can go wrong. And at the same time, you're not addressing the root of the problem, which is how you live, that thing you were talking about eating at your desk, like how many of us do that because we have to, or we feel we have to, which is what I find more often the case. Like, oh, I have to, like, okay. But unless you are, say, a fireman, is the building really going to burn down if you take 10 minutes away from your computer to eat your lunch? Probably not. Probably not. And actually, so for those of you who don't know, I do offer nutrition coaching. And it's the same sort of thing where, like, yes, you can buy a month of nutrition coaching. Really, we very strongly recommend 3 months for the average person who's already at a good starting point. People who are having a little bit more of a hard time getting started, sometimes they need longer, and that's okay. But I did have somebody who was, our entire goal was very straightforward. Like, we're not going to change what you're eating or anything else. We're going to start with, I want you to make yourself breakfast in the morning. What that can mean, I mean, toast a bagel, put cream cheese on it, pour yourself a pre-made coffee. Easy, easy, easy. Most of us have time to do that most days of the week. Takes the same or less time as going through the drive-through, believe it or not. And it came down to that, like, at one point I had to say to this person, it's not about the bagel. And it's not about the coffee. I don't care what you eat for breakfast. It's not the what. It's that this is 5 to 10 minutes you're taking out of your day to take care of you. Like, you're doing something good for yourself, and you deserve it. And the second that got into place, all of a sudden, the overwork mentality, the being so flustered and long hours because, oh, I've got to get this, that, and the other, that started decreasing, and productivity went up at the same time.
Caretakeritis. You heard of this? This comes from that No Sweat book I was reading the other day as well. It's like, you know what? We think we're such a hero if we don't take care of ourselves. We have to take care of everybody else. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're a mom who takes care of everybody, like the entire family. What if you're a single person? What if you're a guy who doesn't have a family? Whatever. It doesn't necessarily just mean that. But if you put yourself last, that doesn't make you a hero.
No. And
who does that help?
And
What do you
it
get
ends
at?
up hurting. More often than not, it ends up hurting the people that you're trying to help more than it helps them. And we just don't see it as that,
Right.
you know, and it's not even necessarily a bad view to have if you can come to the other side and go, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Like, you know,
Mhm.
okay, so I'm a, say, single mom and I've got, you know, my kids and I want them to eat healthy, but I don't have time to eat. So I'm going to eat junk food while I cook them a really nice meal. What is that actually demonstrating for the
Right.
child? It's
Mhm.
like, well, when you're an adult, you just trash your body because, you know, it's not important anymore.
Right.
Instead of like, no, I've got to do this so that I can be good, and I expect you to do this for yourself when you're an adult, which is what most people want for their kids.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So,
You know, I saw this with a client I had. She's the wife of a person who was president of a sports team. I'll put it that way. So her life was ridiculously busy.
yeah.
And part of the reason, and she's an introverted lady. She's the sweetest lady you've ever met. Love her to pieces. But
Mhm.
she hated this go go go. She was always very go go go, but she hated parts of that life. And
Yeah.
so she split her time between Texas and Nashville. And when I mean, she'd be gone for like 8 months out of the year or 4 months out of the year, and then suddenly I'd get a call. I'm like, "What do you have?" I'm like, "Oh, are you back in town?" And then she'd be here for 6 months, and then she'd poof again. But what happened, like, besides my being able to get her out of chronic pain, which made her realize, oh my gosh, number one, I didn't she knew she was in pain, but she'd gotten used to
Yeah.
living with it.
Uh-huh.
And when it was gone, she realized, this is important. I have to take care of
Yeah.
me. So
Hmm.
she told me, I need to see you twice a week. I can't commit to 3 times because I'm lucky if I do two, but I need these two, minimum one, because I
Yeah.
spend my life running around taking care of my husband and his thing and my kids and all business thing. This is
Mhm.
my me time. Nobody can
Yes.
reach me here. I don't have my phone on. It's just me and you. This is my time for me, and I have to carve this time out for myself, or I will have nothing.
Yep.
And I just wanted to like give her the biggest hug and like applaud, like, yes, ma'am. Like, you cannot take care of the world if you don't take that time for you. And then
Hmm.
she would leave pain free,
Yeah.
stronger, happier,
Yep.
way more ideas, clear headed. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many. I just love that story with her because it's like people think that, but she was one who was like, no, this is
Right.
my me time. I have to have this, not just for my
Hmm.
sanity, but I owe this to myself. I need to take care of me, and this is
Hmm.
my me time.
Yeah.
And we had sessions where she's like, can we just go for a walk? Heck yeah. She's like, she didn't want to go for a walk where she lived. She didn't feel safe. Will you walk with me for an hour? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't have to lift weights for it to be a workout, for it to be effective,
Right.
for it to count.
Right. Right.
That's fine. I've had several clients just want to go for a walk. Let's
Hmm.
do this.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's
And that
fine.
that moment of realization where it's like, oh, I this is actually important. That's it's awesome from, you know, like from a coaching and a teaching perspective. It's wonderful. And it always tends to set people up better down the road. But uh, to kind of bring this back a little bit is like, I doubt she would have gotten there if she tried to do all the things all at once right up front. Yeah. Can't do
No,
it with
no.
exercise, and you can't do it with food. And food is the other way that we tend to, because like that's a lot of how we judge our bodies.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
oh my goodness, like, oh, I ate this and so therefore I'm fat, or oh, I didn't eat this and therefore, or there's people who identify with their eating habits specifically, like I am this diet. I'm like,
I am
are you?
keto. I am
Are
paleo.
you? Mm-hmm. Are you? Like, you can eat that way, and if it's working for you, fantastic. But is it actually working for you, and are you being honest with yourself about it? That's
Right.
where we get a little bit stuck. Um, and so like I just open honest here. I was definitely one of those try out the different diets because, I struggled with weight my whole life, and it's, gone back throughout my family history, just women struggling with weight. Men too, but a lot of women. And so it was very easy for me to want to try, oh, well, people lose weight on this diet. I'll try that. People lose weight on that diet. I'll try that. So I tried a lot of stuff, and I failed at a lot of stuff. And it finally took that point where, because I lost a bunch of weight and then I gained more back, that kind of thing. And right after I lost the most weight I'd ever lost, I gained more weight than I've ever had. Because what I had been doing was, it was a very depriving way of feeding my body. I know other people who can live that way, but they are, from what I've seen, the exceptions for that specific combination of foods. Yeah, and the fallout was terrible. So coming back down from that super top heavy point was always like, okay, well, it took me how many years to get here? How much abuse? And what can I do so that I am doing something that is sustainable and I'm not going to go backwards, right?
Yeah.
And that really doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to just deprive myself of all of these bad foods right away. That's not reasonable. It's not reasonable, and it's not sustainable.
I think that's tip number 5 on my top 10 list is eat what you really want. Do you really want it, or do you want it because you think you shouldn't have it, or you can't have it, or it's forbidden, or you have to have it in certain amounts, or do you really want it?
Yeah.
Eat it. How does that make you feel?
Yes.
Are you
Yeah.
satisfied? Did that meet that craving? Are you not satisfied?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling in this moment? And so here's another thing, and I'm just pulling out all the books in my thing today. I was in TJ Maxx, and I found this book for $3 at TJ Maxx. It's called The Ultimate Diet Log. And I bought this right around when I was going through one of probably the most stressful times of my life. I had just moved to Nashville. The story was that I was supposed to, my now ex-husband and I were going to move to Nashville. He said we could go. I'd been trying to get out of Panama City forever. And one day he finally went, okay, we'll go. And so I waited 6 weeks, asked him again. He said, yeah, we'll go. I went, okay, cool. I set up a life for myself so I would have something. He worked at Target. He could do whatever. No biggie. He'd transfer. Come May, he was all for it. And then come May, he goes, never mind. I don't think we can do this. And I said, excuse me. All these kind of things. But we've established that I was married to a schizophrenic personality disordered person. So, I was just like, I'm sorry. Excuse me here, but your girl pair, my career matters too. We're going. And he was like, well, he got all mad and whatever. So finally, I kept my word. He didn't keep his, and I left. We were supposed to come to Nashville. I was going to live with my parents for like a few months while he graduated college, believe it or not. He had a psychotic break in the middle instead. Still graduated college. Don't know how. But long story short, I moved up to there. I was stressed out. I was trying to keep, I didn't know he was mentally ill at this point. I was trying to keep our marriage together, long distance. He was not participating. And I was just, I don't know what's going on. And at this point, I had been dealing off and on with disordered eating because I had done a figure competition back in 2008. We got married in 2007. I did a figure competition in 2008. For guidance, I'm like 5'3" and some change. And I got down to 114 pounds. I was still one of the biggest people on stage. I was told, my gosh, your butt is huge. Your hips are huge. You need to drop at least another 20 pounds. Yeah. And I went, people were like, oh, you're going to do this and get bit by the bug. I was like, nope. I wanted to see what my body could do. I blew out my thyroid in the process. It has never worked since. A whole bunch of things bad happened because of that. Not faulting figure competition or bodybuilding or anything. I hired a guru to help me through this. So, of course, the show was over and I didn't hire him after that. So I was just left with what? So I developed a binge eating disorder because I went from I can only have asparagus and tilapia. Literally, that's it for 6 weeks, basically. 6 times a day. Oh, and at the end, I got almonds and flank steak. Nothing but water, no caffeine, but except fat burners. I mean, it was insane. Absolutely insane. And
Yes.
then after that, I was like, oh, I can have cereal again. And I can
Mm-hmm.
have peanut butter. And I just went off deep and I gained 40
Yeah.
pounds.
Yep. Yep.
40 pounds, right? So
Mm-hmm.
during this whole situation, I went through back and forth, and I developed a binge eating disorder where I knew
Yeah.
something wasn't right in my marriage. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I felt miserable. I was stuck. I hated where I was. I couldn't. I was playing music, but I wasn't teaching kids I wanted to teach. I wasn't doing music strong the way I wanted to. I couldn't get it off the ground. I was in the wrong place, and I knew it. And my husband kept us there,
Mm-hmm.
and he wouldn't listen because it was all
Yeah.
about him. He was a narcissist, right? So when this happened, so long story short, I developed this eating disorder. And if anybody ends up with one of these, it ended up being, once I realized that I was not the problem, that the disordered eating was a response to my not feeling like I had any control in my life. And it was kind of I would control my eating and try to get my weight back down because that's the goal he had for me that I adopted. And it wasn't really ever my goal. I just, whatever. And so getting out of that, I finally realized, oh, I'm spiraling out of control because I can't have this and I have no control in my life at all. And so like those kind of realizations, it's self-realization. But if anybody's dealing with that, go get any of these books. You don't need to know all of these, but like When Food is Love, huh?
Yeah.
Feeding the Hungry Heart. Janine Roth writes a really candid. One of the things she said is when you eat out of the refrigerator, pull up a chair. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a cat, have you ever seen a cat eat? Cats don't eat standing up. They always sit down and take the time to eat whatever they're going to eat, whether it's 2 bites or more. What do? We just shove food in our mouths, and it brings that awareness back, right? We take the distraction out. We start being aware of why we're doing this. So this book I was going back to Nashville, and I was just like totally freaking out, like what's going on? Why can't I? Why, blah, blah, blah. So this book really started the whole process, and it starts with, basically it's a 5-day personal inventory. And there's ways you can do this, but basically it tells you like, what did you eat? How did you feel? What was your hunger level? Were you satisfied? Were you not? How did you post-meal insights? How did you feel? And then, how many whole grains did you have? How much dairy did you have? Were these in line with your goals? Were they not? And then you go on and you write down basically, this is what I had. Did it meet my goal? Did it not? And then you just tally up 1 or 0 at the end, and you just see, and you kind of go from there. And it's all about personal insight and understanding why we do what we do. And does that align with ourself and our core values, or shoulds?
Yes. Should is a dirty word in my house. It is a bad word. Like, you drop any other word you want, really, but should is probably one of the worst ones in our household. And it's because of the pressure. Oh my God, the pressure that puts on. Like, oh, I should. Like, I'll be straight up here. BMI is not a thing in my house either.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Hate BMI. Why?
Thank you.
Because the BMI tells me, okay, so when I was at my lightest, right? My absolute lightest, I was about 140 pounds. I'm 5'7", about 140 pounds. That thing told me that I needed to lose another 10 to 15. I had 0 muscle on my body as it was. 0. Goose egg.
Insane.
Muscle, if you don't know, is heavy. So where I should be, according to BMI, I will never be able to do and also be strong and healthy. I need to lift based on certain disorders I have. I must lift to be healthy. And quite frankly, I haven't met many people who don't need to lift to some degree to be healthy. Oh,
by the way, muscle doesn't weigh more than fat. A pound of fat is a pound of fat, and a pound of muscle is a pound of muscle. A pound is a pound. Right. But muscle is more dense than fat. That's why she said, why you said that muscle is heavy. It's denser. So you can weigh more and be smaller than someone who weighs less and is bigger.
Yeah. And I do have photos. I won't share them, but I do have photos.
We'll
one of
share my
them,
figure one so you can see what a
yeah.
disordered type look like if you want to see that.
Bring me back in a minute to bodybuilding and journaling, but I do have photos of one. I weigh 195. That was coming back down from my big.
Yeah.
And the other, and chronologically, it was 195, and then the next one was like 203. So I'm 8 pounds heavier, and I look thinner, and it's because I had started lifting.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
literally the change, you know. I changed out my diet too, but not. If you looked at the way I was eating in 2018, comparing it to today, you'd be like, oh, that's a totally different diet. I'm like, it's not. It's just progression, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm working towards refining what's right for me. Yeah. So fun stories.
So when it comes to nutrition, what should
Yes.
you do?
Oh, it's oh my God, it's tough. And the answer is not the same for everybody.
It
And that's part
depends.
of why it's so tricky. It's always going to be, it depends. I know some people who are their healthiest when they are eating no meat, hardcore vegans. I know some people who require a minimum amount of carbs and can't digest certain fats. I know people who are strict carnivore. I mean, like no vegetables, okay, strict carnivore. And that seems to have fixed disorders that they have.
Yeah.
If somebody is telling you you must eat only this way because they do and therefore that's what that works, they're probably full of crap.
Mm-hmm. Run
Those,
away.
those are people who identify with their diets, you know? Personal opinion.
Yeah, and a diet doesn't mean weight loss. A diet means what you eat.
Right.
Just for
Yes.
clarity here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or how you eat.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's all this pressure around should. And then, like, when you combine the should with all the different types of diets that are available out there, and everybody's trying to push their thing, like, how are you supposed to sift through that, right? So, what you were talking about a minute ago with that food log is, it depends on the person, but probably one of the first things I would introduce depending on the person. And usually when I hit a plateau, because quite frankly, I've hit several, that's where I start again. Because typically what it means is that I am not aware of something that I am or am not doing.
Right?
You know, and it
Yep.
comes back to that awareness. Am I distracted while I'm eating? Well, if I have to write down what I'm eating every time I eat, you bet your butt I'm aware of it, instead of like, oh, I'm sitting here in the middle of like, oh, I've got this deadline, so I'll just, eat an entire bag of something.
And you're probably going to eat less because a lot of times we don't want to write down, I had this handful or this one cookie or this. You don't want to write it down, so you don't do it.
No, exactly.
It's just
Now,
more awareness.
yes. Now, I do say depending on the person, because for me, that turns disordered very quickly,
Yeah.
very quickly if I'm not careful. So I can do it for a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then I need to stop. Same thing with if I'm using the scale. Oh, you bet your butt I've got limits on when I can stand on that thing.
Yep. Yep.
I've got
Yep. It's a
absolute hardcore.
tool. It's just a
It is a
tool.
tool, and the number is not always going to reflect your body fat percentage.
Mm-mm.
It just won't, you know, because that's not what the thing is built for. Um, so yeah, the more awareness you can bring to what you're doing, the more gentleness you can bring to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Small steps like what you've talked about, and that's what's always worked for me. Is like, okay, start with a water goal, add a sleep goal, add a vegetable to every meal. Do you know how many people look at me when like I'm insane because I'm like, eat a vegetable with breakfast? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Vegetable. Oh, with
But
breakfast?
vegetables don't go in with breakfast. Try it. Try it. See if
I
it works.
posted that in my group this week. I'm
It's
like,
not.
look, if you have trouble with breakfast, with vegetables at breakfast, I mean, you can make little muffins, egg muffins. Make your own egg muffins. Put your
Yes.
vegetables in there, saute them up, the ones you like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Yeah.
maybe, what if you're a smoothie person? Get a greens powder. Greens powders are the best things for people who need vegetables but can't find the time and love smoothies anyway. They
Or
make chocolate flavor, all kinds of.
the big buckets of pre-washed spinach. That
Yeah.
was my go-to when I was into smoothies. I would buy the big, it was cheap from Whole Foods too. It was like $3 for a giant tub of
Well, I was
spinach.
gonna
And I
say
would,
spinach will
you know,
go down to like this when you cook it.
the raw bit, you just like take a giant handful and shove it in your smoothie and blend the crap out of it. Like you can't taste it. I never hit a point where I added so much spinach that I could taste it. And if I did, it was really gritty and it was
Yeah.
obvious that it was too much spinach.
Right. Right.
So it's not like you need to binge on it, but like maybe have a cucumber, a cup of greens, something like that, you know?
I don't know
So,
about you, but I could live on green beans. If I had no vegetables but green
right.
beans every day with every meal, maybe not
Mhm.
breakfast, but like green beans are my favorite thing. I will eat them straight out. I will eat a whole can straight out of can. I just love green beans. You know, broccoli's okay. Brussels sprouts are great,
Yeah.
fine. You know, I like all the other ones, but if I'm gonna have anything, it's gonna be green beans. They're simple, they're delicious. Uh, I'd never get tired of them. And you know, I think this is kind of funny. My
Mhm.
dad and my mom used to do this thing when we were like kids trying to get us to eat more vegetables. Like, who's the green bean kid? Well, I'm the green bean kid. You know, this whole thing. I
I
don't know if
know.
that's a subconscious thing. I'm still like, I'm the green bean kid, or if I just really like them that much. But
You know?
that mentality of seeing it like it's a reward or
Yes.
it's something you get pleasure out of, you enjoy because you like it as opposed to a should is
Mhm.
essential when it comes to fitness, exercise,
Yeah.
food,
Mhm.
practicing.
Mhm.
Are you practicing only because you should? Are you still liking it? Do you still like playing your instrument? If you don't, maybe you should stop for a little bit. Who cares what you
Yeah.
should do? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Full disclosure, I did have to stop playing after my doctorate because it
Burnout.
wasn't fun. It
Right.
wasn't fun anymore. And
Ditto.
now I'm back to it and I'm like, oh, this feels good. But it took time for me to go, you know what? I don't have to play this if I don't like it. Huh.
If I don't
There's
want
a
to play today, I
conflict.
don't have to.
Same thing with like, I'm a bad coach. I don't eat broccoli. I don't like it. If it's
I
the
don't
only
think
thing
badly of you.
available to me, I'll eat broccoli. But it just doesn't work well for me. And I've
I
got
hate
so
asparagus. I feel you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
Which reminds me, fun fact, bodybuilding is a sport. We've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Bodybuilding is a sport. Figure comps are related to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a sport.
Sport.
So if you are getting your nutrition advice from a bodybuilder, that is a sport specific set of nutrition advice. Okay. There are bodybuilders who know the difference between nutrition for bodybuilding and nutrition for other things. I'm not going to knock everybody. Just it's something that I've seen several people go through where it's like they get to a point of burnout, like what you got to. And it's like it just is not sustainable. And part of it is because they don't want to do bodybuilding, they want to feel healthy. Like if your goal is to feel healthy and not compete in bodybuilding or figure comps, maybe you don't need to eat like you're doing bodybuilding or figure comps.
Right? What
So,
makes you feel healthy? What is an activity? This goes back to that book, but what is an activity that feels good to you?
mhm.
It counts.
Yes.
My gosh, start with that and do that. I don't care if it's, I'm going to take 5 minutes at lunch. It's a beautiful, sunshiny day. The world will not stop if I go outside for 5 minutes and enjoy the
Yep.
sunshine and walk
Yep.
around the parking lot or wherever I am.
Yep.
You know, maybe you love
Yep.
rollerblading and you hate the gym. That's fine. Go do it. You know, like, and I would definitely tell any musician, I don't care what you play,
Yeah.
go try some rando sports. Like in college, I don't know if you did this. We had all these crazy PE classes. Like my freshman year, I didn't know marching band counted as a PE, so I thought I had to have a PE. So I graduated with like 5 PE credits. I did fencing my first semester. Do you know how
Cool.
fun that was? They have adult fencing here in Nashville, and if I get a wild hair, my gosh, I'm gonna suit up and lunge away and stab people for cardio. It's great fun. So
Yeah.
we had that. We had ballroom dancing. Oh
Yeah.
my word, how fun it was. I was like wiped out at the end of the class, but it was so much fun. We had a canoeing camping class. We had a hiking camping class. We have all kinds of stuff. So I would just challenge you. There's a sport for everybody. I don't care if it's rollerblading or fencing or ping pong. Yes, ping pong can be a sport. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, look at Forrest Gump. Like, he was in it. But go try something. If you don't like it, cool. But maybe you find something you really love and you never would have. Maybe group sports aren't your thing. Maybe ballroom dancing is your thing. My gosh, it's a workout. I would definitely tell anybody who's never tried fencing, you gotta try fencing. It's way fun.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think viewing different things as sports, and we'll get into this more next week too, but I think viewing different things as sports is super healthy. Like I always viewed weightlifting as like, oh, it's something that people do to look a certain way. It's something that people do to like basically supplement, supplement something else that they're doing. That's the only reason people go into the gym are to lose weight and to if they're in a sport of some kind, like a real sport. And that was my mentality.
Right.
Meanwhile, here I am going, you know what? I would classify, and we're going to call it so I don't get in trouble here. I would classify functional fitness classes as a sport. As odd as that sounds, even though that big functional fitness group tends to say go out and play sports, and that's why we're doing this, I'd qualify that as a sport. I would qualify powerlifting as a sport that I'm not into, but it's still a sport. I would qualify strongman as a sport, absolutely 100%.
I don't think I would qualify poker as a sport, though.
I do not qualify poker. That's sitting on your butt.
Sorry, I draw the line.
It is interesting, and it's definitely hi, Kitty. It's definitely like not dissing poker players, but if getting into physical activity definitions, like there's something out there, and what are you limiting yourself to? We'll get into that next week because this is getting a little long.
Yeah, I know. But here's a final thought. So I've got, like I mentioned, there's this 10-week. It's not a challenge, but it's kind of a personal challenge. If you want to challenge yourself to like, let me do this. Let me do one thing at a time. See if I can break my habits, but establish new ones. So I'm going to give you a little quote from this habit book. There's a link to it on my website. Go to musicstrong.com/shop under book. There's a link to this because I think it is that good. Okay. The power of habit. So here's if you're watching this, here is the graphic I want you to see. So what we've got a cue. We got a cue, a routine, and a reward. That's like the craving. So like take email. When you get like a computer ping or your phone vibrates, we automatically, that's the cue. We check it. How hard is it for you not to check it if it's dinging? What do we get? We get a dopamine rush when we see like, oh, I got an Instagram like, oh, I got a so-and-so. What do we do when we get out of bed? Same thing. We look at the phone. We want that dopamine rush first thing, right? So if you're trying to break a habit, to overpower the habit, we must recognize which craving is driving the behavior. If we're not conscious of the anticipation, then we're like the shoppers who wander as if drawn by an unseen force into Cinnabon. You just smelled it, you didn't know why, but now you want it, right? It's kind of the same thing. So if you have this habit, whether it's what's the habit you really don't like? Okay, you have to know, I'm anticipating, what's the cue? When you know what that cue is, you have to replace that cue with a different action that still gives you a reward. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
And just
not about deprivation.
Quick example, because I have something that actually ties directly into that for nutrition. Okay. In the afternoon, I want caffeine or sugar or both. Both of those things I'm very sensitive to. Okay. Took some doing, figured out. It's because I am tired of sitting inside in the dark, staring at a screen. And I've been sick. Okay. The actual cure for that is go take a walk outside in the sun for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is nothing. 10 minutes is a lap around the closest block. It's super short, and I get done and I'm like, can I take another, So the application of what you were just saying, totally forgot the other two. Q something reward. God,
Q
what's on the
action reward.
Thank
Q
you.
habit reward.
Thank you.
Right.
So ideally, I prevent it by taking the walk around the time.
Q routine reward.
There you go. There's the routine. So ideally, my routine is in place so that before the craving hits, because I know about what time, I go for a walk. And that's the reward. Sunshine, I feel better. I'm more alert. If that fails, oh, I'm craving caffeine and sweets. Just time for a walk.
And this can go for anything.
Yeah, big time, big time.
Anything, whether it's food, whether it's you want to quit smoking, whether it's exercise, I'm trying to tie this back to music, but I mean, what's your cue to go practice? Is that a stressful cue or something that you get a reward out of? Is that a should or is that a like?
Yes. Am I practicing because I really love my instrument and I want to sound good on this particular thing that I also love? Or am I afraid that if I don't go practice, I'm going to fail my recital?
Right. I know, right?
Good. Like, I hate this piece, but if I don't play it, I'm going to fail my recital. So I'm going to go. You do that long enough, it's a spiral. Not that it's not good to do stuff like that. We all have to learn how to play stuff we hate. It just shouldn't be the bread and butter of what we do.
Yeah. I could go. That's a rabbit hole we could definitely go down.
We'll leave that there.
Yep. Drop a comment and tell us what piece you hated having to learn.
Why not? Tell us what piece you hated having to learn. Tell us what questions you have. We will always look at those. Let's do some plugs. Let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Go ahead. We'll get started with you again.
All right. So you can find me at musicstrong.com, at Instagram at musicstrongfitness, or at Facebook at facebook.com/musicstrong. And I have got some downloadable instrument-specific workouts, and I've got this COVID comeback challenge that I am reinstating. It's the 12-week version, not the 6-week version, because the 12-week version, for everybody who registers, you're going to get a free Hypervolt Go, which is a $200 value. It's a massage gun, and you're going to get the app that goes with it, which is going to tie in, and that app will tell you how to best use it for recovery. Like, hey, this is how you need to massage yourself today. I mean, it's like super great. So I've got that going on. Also, real quick, if you'd like to be part of my group, it's on Facebook. musicstrong.com, facebook.com/musicstrong. The group is called I Am Music Strong. And I put things there first before I, release them to the public. So it's a special group. We talk about all things related to music and fitness, and it's a nice little community. I'd love to have you join us. And we're doing this 10-week thing and would love to have your input. Come join us. It's free. It's free.
Yeah. All right. And of course, you can find me. Website is tunedandtonedperformance.com. That's tuned with a D and toned with a D. Instagram and Facebook at tuned and toned performance. YouTube, just type in tuned and toned performance. I come right up. If you have more questions about nutrition, I do offer nutrition coaching. You can find me any of the locations. Send me a message. I will absolutely respond to you, give you the details on that. Local classes in Tallahassee. So if you're in the Tallahassee area, you're looking for some group classes, looking to get stronger, we've got those. One-on-one sessions also. Ladies' Day, first Saturday of every month. That's one of my new big things. I'm super excited. We're doing glutes this weekend.
Love it.
And if there's anything that you're interested in and you're non-local, got custom programming, online programming, one-on-ones remotely, that kind of stuff, all available.
Forgot to say that.
Yeah.
We both do that.
Yes, we do. Angela does this too.
You can work with us one-on-one. But if you have any questions about, like disordered eating or nutrition or whatever, and you just want a sympathetic ear, my gosh, reach out.
Oh yeah. I think we're both perfectly happy to talk about that.
All day long. Been there, done that. I understand. Sucks.
Oh yeah.
But it's not a permanent state.
No, no, it's not. All right,
Thanks, guys.
everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.